Welcome back to Pluck That. I am Nick Ciraldo, and I'm here joined as always with the illustrious Mike Boyd and the authoritative Jonathan Bass.
Yeah. All right.
Such a pleasure to see you again. This is a very special episode. I feel like I've been saying a special episode maybe a little too frequently on this podcast. So people are going to think
They're all special.
Really are they?
They've all hit in very meaningful ways to me.
they've been hitting. They've been hitting hard. They have a lot of aura
Slap. Yeah.
and
They slap.
they slap. Lots of riz and
Lots of it.
Lots of Riz.
no cap.
There's so many of these terms that I've tried to use, and both of my children have been like, nobody really says that anymore. I was like, that was 6 months ago that everybody was saying it. They're like, yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
I was about to say my daughter is probably listening and rolling her eyes from the other room when I shouted out Riz.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
think everyone 20 years old and younger just threw their phones on the ground. while
6,
listening to
7.
this.
Ah, yeah, that was the last one they said. Nobody's saying that anymore.
Nobody's saying that anymore, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, welcome back, everyone. We have an episode where we're going to be talking with Jeremiah Stricklin. Jeremiah is a member of the band Oh Jeremiah, along with his wife Erin, guitarist, singer-songwriter, and Erin plays the violin and also sings. And they have a wonderful ensemble and a wonderful story. And in a little bit, we'll be able to chat with Jeremiah about all those things that involve his ensemble. Before we do that, we're going to cut to a little news.
Get informed.
Oh, a new one. It keeps coming.
Okay, we got some news. I don't have any news to share, but I know that Michael Boyd, you do.
Well, one is, hey, I'm proudly showing off my new T-shirt thanks to my wife. The representation of a Boss pedal, I guess the TS1 Talent Simulator, so it's very appropriate for me. I sold another guitar this week, and it's got me one step closer to my goal of getting a new guitar. I say closer because I've already, I think, paid for it. But that's okay. At least I have a little more money now to put towards it. And with that, as I'm proud to see this guitar because it's a great guitar. It's a Stratocaster. It served me well for many years. I'm a Telly guy, and I've probably referenced this in previous, episodes that I'm really looking forward to getting a gray Telecaster because I'm this Telly guy, and I'm getting these dream Tellys that I've always wanted now as a result of selling some guitars that I've loved, but it wasn't the guitars I was just gravitating to and just picking up and playing because I'm a Telly guy, I'm a Fender guy. So it's a bit of a celebration and seeing it go to someone that can appreciate it. It's also a bit of a rant in that of the guitars I've sold, I've listed over the past year 2 Gibsons, 2 Fenders, a Rickenbacker, and a Gretsch. Oh, and a Classical 7, sorry, and the Blackshear. The things that went immediately were the Gibsons. I mean, I popped up my asking price, and they went within, one of them went the same day I listed it. One of them
Wow.
3 days later.
Wow.
Gibsons are just going. The Rickenbacker went pretty quickly. The one of the Telecasters that I listed, 94 Tele Plus that I had heavily modified into a Nashville type setup, so a 3 pickup kind of Strat style configuration. Had a Glazer G Bender, which I loved. Um, it went pretty quickly, but relatively quickly. I didn't get what I really wanted for it, and what I'm finding is I don't know if it's because there's so many fenders or so many options. I really, to get that guitar to sell, I had to discount it pretty heavily. And the Strat that just went for about half price what I paid for it. And it's just been over the process. Every few weeks I'll drop it $50. A few weeks later I'll drop it $50. And the guy that got it, I don't know if he got Christmas money, but it's like, hey, it's a bit of a whim, just an impulse purchase. And I hope it serves him well. But it's kind of interesting, I guess what the market is commanding. So it's a bit rantish in that I was communicating with another guy about the Strat, and as soon as it went, he messaged me within 5 minutes. It's like, oh my god, it just sold. He's clearly been watching it, and just I regret doing that. I regret not getting it. And he was just asking me my opinion on some other instruments. Like, he's in the market mostly for more vintage kind of stuff. At this point, even 90s really qualifies for that. Back in the day, I used to think about vintage being 70s or before, but I have aged, and so has everything else. And it's funny that the Tele Plus was American Tele, and yeah, I had it modified. It wasn't original, but I listed it for this price, and it sold for about $700 less than what I had hoped for, and what I had it insured for and valued at. And he was talking about this one he really had his eye on. I think it was a 95 Tele Plus that some guy was asking $2,700 for. I was like, I couldn't get mine with a bender to sell for close to that. I said, if that's what you want, that's great. It's the value we put to it, and if that gets you where you want to be, that's great. But I told him from what I'm seeing, more stuff will come up. I think at a lower price, and wait it out a little bit. And I hate to say that because being a seller, I want us all to get what we have invested in our instruments, but there are certain ones I think that are not holding up as well as others, and that's a little bit frustrating.
Understood. Yeah, that's a tough one. It's a tough market. You have a lot of emotional connection to certain instruments that maybe other people just don't have, and vice versa. So it's hard to predict sometimes.
And another interesting, it's winter. Nick, a week or two ago, you had messaged me. We were just chit-chatting over the break, and we had our first cold snap, and you said something about, oh man, I need to, since it's getting cold overnight, the cold front's coming through, dry air, I need to put my guitars, my acoustics in their cases with the humidifiers. I thought, great. I'm in this bigger space now. I have been for 2 or 3 years now, and I don't keep them in the cases like I used to with the humidifiers and all that. And I thought, that's perfect. I need to recharge my humidifiers, make sure I put them in there. And I bought an alarm clock a year or two ago because it had all the options I wanted, multiple alarms mostly, but it had a humidifier on it. And I thought, when am I ever going to need that? By golly, it's come in quite handy with guitars out and about. I don't know how accurate it is. It's definitely not accurate in terms of keeping time, because by the time that the time change comes around, it's 10 minutes fast, which I guess is better than 10 minutes slow and me getting up late. But these cold mornings, I've been noticing it gets down to about 40% humidity. And this is downstairs where it is. I'm upstairs with these guitars, and of course, hot air rises, physics, whatnot. But whenever you mentioned that, I have a spare case that has a humidifier in it. I just kind of left it out just to see what it's getting to in here. it's saying 60 when it's downstairs saying 40.
Oh,
And I thought, well, that's a huge difference. Is the one downstairs wrong? Is this one maybe stuck because it's an old case? Maybe it's not as accurate. So I switched it out with another case and put the guitar in it, and it's the other case is still reading the same thing, and it's clearly working because it's went down. And it's just an interesting thing to kind of deal with right now, as I want to care for my instruments appropriately. I think the next step is for me to bring that alarm clock from downstairs upstairs and see what it says, and get an idea of what's accurate. Because so far, my humidifier cases are saying around between somewhere between 55 and 60%, which I'm okay with leaving them out at that. But if it's 40, that's getting on that cusp where a good cold snap, I want to make sure I have them in there. So this will be an experiment in progress.
Are either
yeah.
of the doors behind you by chance to a bathroom?
One of them is it stays closed, but so is the one downstairs. It's next to the bathroom, and both of these get used in equal amount in terms of shower and moisture and things like that. The one downstairs, I'm just noticing, seems to be consistently lower, and I just don't know which one is right and which one to trust.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah, little. I think it's worth it to talk about it, especially since we're in the wintertime. Just a little public service announcement. Especially if you have a nicer acoustic or classical guitar, just make sure that you're maintaining the humidity for that instrument. Particularly happens when there's a humidity change. Not so much if it's been enduring for a long period of time because the wood is already adjusted, but if there's a big change, that's when a crack can happen. And so just keep your guitars humidified. And you can get a humidifying machine, but you can also get just one of these little things that you can buy at a local music store or online that goes inside your guitar. Slap it between the strings and you're good to go. So yeah. Bass, what about you? I think you got a little show and tell for us this evening, don't you?
And I've got a little bit of news. It won't take too long. I recently, well, for the holidays, I was gifted the Line 6, what does it say? G10S wireless system. So here's a little input right there.
Okay. So if our listeners don't know, that's basically removing the cable. You have like a wireless connection to your amp.
Right. And yeah, or your pedals, whatever. So you can put the receiver, which is plugged in down here.
Is this so that you can finally do your practiced dance routine on stage?
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Okay.
Swing the guitar around your head, a la ZZ Top, and not worry about choking yourself with the cable. That's awesome.
Well, a colleague of mine I'm in a band with has a Boss version of this, and I was going back and forth on getting that and this, and I think I provided the person who asked me what I wanted with both models, and they went with this one, so they both got equally good reviews. But yeah, I'm looking forward to trying it out. The guy that inspired it says that his latency issues are basically none, so that's what I was really worried about.
That's impressive.
And yeah, well, apparently it has to wake up a little bit, so. But I mean, it sounds. I mean, it doesn't have any difference between this and a cable so far. I am
Really?
pretty close, So, yeah.
Nice. So you haven't had a chance to see how far away you can get?
No, not really. I haven't experimented that. It says line of sight, and it also has a cool feature where it will say like a 10-foot cable. What's the word I'm looking for? Replication. That's not. Anyway, sorry. Lots of words. You get 10-foot or 30-foot setting, or of course off. But and then you can go XLR out, or you can go quarter-inch out, and you can plug that right into the your pedal board or directly to the amp. And the only wireless feature here is the one that's provided. Now I have seen models to where you can stack. So if you want to go from the pedal board to the amp wirelessly, you can buy I guess that would be two more. You know,
That's okay, what you just said about, oh, set it at 10 foot, set it at 30 feet. Um, that brings up an interesting question because there is that idea of, the resistance in the cables. Was it research had shown something like 18 feet? You won't sonically notice a difference in tone, that it's sucking tone from a long cable run. I'm curious what that 10-foot versus 30-foot setting is, because clearly we don't want it to suck tone.
right?
And I don't think there's really any difference in latency between, say, a 10-foot or a 50 foot cable.
Yeah, but once you get to 30 feet, you start to lose a little high end, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
It,
that I
it,
mean
it rolls
the
off
fear there
dramatically.
is
Yeah.
just like you can find 30 feet pretty quickly in a pedal board with all the little
Right.
connections and everything. Not to mention your
So
tubes.
that's what it is referring to. Like, some people maybe are used to that and want
I
that,
don't know. I
or
haven't
I
really
don't know.
dug into it yet, but that's a
Okay.
good question.
Report back.
I
That's
will.
your homework assignment for the next podcast.
All right. Well, I, I mean, honestly, it's so far I like it. I feel like you have to be careful not to bump it. You know,
Oh,
I will say that it does feel like if I'm sitting, especially, I might have to be careful with it.
Yeah.
But
does it pivot or swivel, or is it strictly fixed?
it's it twists just like any other thing. Just like a cable. So
But it doesn't have any relief.
no,
Oh, okay. Well, that is a concern then. Yeah.
yeah, it is a concern that I have noticed, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. And I mean, as I get, I don't know if age has anything to do with it. Probably not, but it's something I care more and more about. Cables get on my nerves. They really do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll see if I like this or not. But my buddy
I'm,
Robert Allen Parker here in Memphis, he rocks it and he sounds great doing it. So
Here's to Robert Allen
yeah,
Parker.
very cool. And what's the maker again of that?
this is line 6.
Line 6. Okay. Very cool. Thanks for sharing.
You bet.
Well, I believe that then brings us to the guest that we have this evening. Once again, we have Jeremiah Stricklin, band member of Oh Jeremiah, and a wonderful singer-songwriter, writes great songs, tells great stories, is a very charming musician, and genuinely wonderful person. And we have all had the pleasure of working with him long ago when Jeremy went through Jones College, where Mike is at, and also at Southern Miss, where I'm at. And even Bass has worked with him as a guest at Jones. So we all know him. We're all proud of him. He's Mississippi made, and we will get to talking to him. Okay, we are here with Jeremiah Stricklin. Jeremiah, thank you so much for joining us on Pluck That.
Honestly, honor of a lifetime. Like the day I got married, pluck that. My wife can't hear me, so I can say things like that. But seriously, thank y'all for having. Y'all have been very important to me at very different places in my life. It feels like the teacher has become the podcast guest, or the student has become the podcast guest. I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
Today, you will be the teacher. We're looking
Yes.
forward to hearing what you have to share with us about everything that you've had going on. It's really exciting.
The tables have turned.
Indeed.
It is a proud moment. I mean, so for our listeners that don't know it, again, we've known Jeremiah for a very long time. We've known Aaron as well, but we have all had the chance to work with him in the past, and so to see the trajectory, to see all these really awesome creative projects is just all we could hope for and more, in terms of somebody who decides to come and work with us for a little bit. And so it's just really cool to see all the amazing things that you've done. So
Thanks for saying that. It kind of all started with y'all in one way or another, and that is not a joke. I remember a very specific one of you was there at a very pivotal point in my life, and it was the most humiliating thing that's ever happened to me. Let's start very vulnerable at the time. I was playing a guitar recital, and I was playing the Bach D major cello suite, and I was playing it from memory, and it was a JCJC recital. And I got so turned around that I could not remember up from down. It was awful. And I did something that I'd never done. You know, you're one of the things about being a guitar major is your only job is to be good at guitar. And I've learned that to make it in music, you have to be good at way more things. But instead of like breathing and just like gathering myself and starting over, I started like doing bits at the recital. Like I started like telling jokes at the recital. And Dr. Boyd, Mike, as I will never be able to adjust because he was my hero as Dr. Boyd. But he was so kind to me, and he was like, hey, sometimes you got to roll with it. Sometimes, you know, this happens to the best of us, whatever. Michael Rushing came up to me after, and he said, just because it works when you tell jokes doesn't mean you can just tell jokes at recitals. And I said, I strongly disagree. And then I created a career out of it. So that's basically.
You have. It's been amazing. It's so engaging when we see you perform live. You automatically make a connection with the audience, and even though they're your stories or things you're saying in the moment, it draws people in.
Yeah,
and I love it.
Yeah, sure. We're talking about doing a tour. No, I can't say too much on it, but we're starting to talk about touring and making this part of the bill. Like, it's like to call our show a music show is kind of a misnomer at this point, because I would say if you track the timeline, we're playing music, but we're talking just as much. Like, it's kind of like a performance piece of just like the stories are as important as the songs. My heroes, just as much as Sufjan Stevens or Paul Simon, are also Mike Birbiglia and John Mulaney. And to me, it's all kind of the same thing. And if you look at it in this elitist mindset of, no, this is what it means to be an artist, I think you just kind of miss the whole point. And it took me humiliating myself at a very suit buttoned up recital to realize it's like, oh, you can be a lot of things and still be an artist.
Yeah, amen to that. That's great.
Absolutely.
I think that's actually a good segue, since you've brought up a little bit about your band. And so let's get into that. I was wondering if you could give us a little bit of a background on your group, Oh Jeremiah, kind of like how it got started, how it's evolved, the recordings that you've made, creative projects, and things like that.
Yeah. So I was in a band when I lived in Mississippi. So I went to school at University of Southern Mississippi, and I was in a band called the Mount Rushmores. Arguably still the greatest band name of any band that's ever existed. But I kind of saw that everyone was doing that thing that a lot of bands do, where everyone at the same time realized like this isn't a real job. And I realized I was always the guy in that conversation going, wait, but it is though. And I got really, really tired of feeling like the odd man out. So I said I would go solo. And I named it Oh Jeremiah because that's what my grandmother called me. My grandmother is Cajun, or was Cajun. She's passed, but she used to call me Oh Jeremiah. That's how she used to call my name. And I just thought it was funny. So when I started my own band name, I just, as a tribute to her, I also just got a sewing machine and I named it after her too. Her name's Ellen Singer, and I named my singer Ellen. But I named it so I could be a solo artist. And then I met this girl at a USM practice room. And I was like, oh, what if I just married her and made her play with me forever? And I think that probably the greatest stroke of luck I've ever had, besides just meeting Erin, was she turned me down to be in the band the first time. And I was like, that's fine. I'm going to be solo anyway. You don't even have to be here. And then she followed me to an open mic where I was going to play an original song for the first time. And she sang Norah Jones under her breath, like almost like she was considering going up. And I was like, you're the greatest singer I've ever heard. And she was like, well, I mean, I was in choir, but I'm not really a singer. And I was like, girl, you are a star. And she is not like me in that she is not a ham and a total slut for the spotlight. But so I can't get her to sing more than one song a night. But once I heard her sing, I was like, I never want to sing without you. So we've been doing it for almost 13 years, which is a crazy thing to think.
Wow.
Next month, we will be celebrating our 10-year marriage anniversary.
All right.
And we're going to celebrate by going to Japan, which I'm also very excited about.
Oh,
I know,
Wow.
I'm very excited. But we have toured the country. We are totally independent. We've had relationships with people in the industry before, but we have settled on betting on ourselves. And that has been, when we find success, it's because we bet on ourselves, because there's so many people out there also trying to do this. And there's so many people promising things that they want to promise everybody and can't really promise anybody. So we have been touring, and it's all been self-done. We book our own shows, we record our own music, and it's been if it never gets 1% more successful than it is, it will be a life well lived, I think.
Well, I get to see you about once a year, and that's about the extent of us catching up, either at a sound check or when you're at the merch table after the show. And I've always been impressed with your banter, because you said you do talk, and it's as I said before, engaging, but it's so honest, and both of you are so quick with one another that it almost, if someone didn't know you, this might be, oh, it's they've rehearsed this, and I see that, I'm like, no, they're going in the moment, and it really is amazing, not only what you do but what she brings to it. It's kind of that 1+1 = 3 kind of thing.
Yeah, it's so very funny because, like I said, my wife is an introvert, and what she learned is that if she tells people she's an introvert and also makes fun of people that want to talk to her anyway, it's always a funny joke. And then that led, so she didn't talk for like the first 9 years of us being in a band. I tried to. I was like, hey, you're really funny. Everyone loves you. Maybe why the chicken cross the road? Try that bit. And she's like, no, I don't want to talk. But Aaron and I, one of the big parts of our story is, we, over COVID, we all went insane when we had to cancel shows. So we bought a van and we converted it into a home. And then we moved out of our home and moved into this van. And one night we were in Tallulah Gorge in Georgia. And I hadn't installed the bathroom yet. And I woke up in the middle of the night and Aaron was using the bathroom in a jar. And I only say that because the first story she ever told was that story in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. People still come up to us that were at that show, and they were like, I was there when she told the story of the jar. And after that, we played the show in Atlanta, Georgia one time, and I literally almost walked off stage because I was like, these people don't want me, they want her. And it's just, I think that there is this thing that you want to be the kind of artist, like I want so hard to be Jeff Buckley. It's not going to happen, but I can be the thing that I am. And what I've learned is what people want is to smile and laugh at our shows, like to have these low lows in the songs and to have these high highs and jokes in between. And I just think that that's where the joy of being a performer is. It's like not trying to be someone you're not, but like really leaning into the person that you are. And that has brought us the most fruit in our career of anything. It's just like not being ashamed of what we are and just being like, oh, people like that. There are enough people on this earth, if you were authentic and genuine, you'll find your people. So when you find them, just give them the thing they want because they've earned it. They showed up when no one else did. So we try to always make sure that's part of our story.
That's just beautiful. And it never occurred to me to see it that way. Like the experience that you provide the listener is not just to hear the music, but to hear the storytelling, to catch the jokes, to get to know you. And I've been to a lot of classical concerts, and I've seen a spectrum of public speaking ability, and the best are when they tell the funniest stories. Even if they're not playing that great, if you get to connect with the listener in a way that we all can connect with each other just by speaking to one another, that chemical reaction is just faster than trying to connect with someone on a musical level sometimes.
Well, it's also, I think there's this huge gap in our appetite right now where it feels like everyone is, and fraudulent may be the wrong word, but I can't think of a word that rings my bell more, because we're only showing like the cool parts of our lives on a daily basis. Like we're showing these like clips of like, oh dude, I got to meet Bono or whatever, but I didn't get to show you the part where I had to stand outside his bathroom until he came out or whatever the joke, whatever it is. But like for us, there is a point every night, and I thought I can't put this song on the record because no one's gonna relate to it. It's so weird, no one's gonna like it. But I knew it was going to make the record the first time I told the story of the song. And the story of the song is my dad caught an alligator when he was fishing, and he tried to raise it, and he introduced it to me by calling it his little brother. And I told that story on stage because I wrote a love song about the alligator, and it sounds like some hokey Weird Al song, but it kills every night. And it's because people hear the story and then they hear the song, and the two become one. And it's more than just like, I can play the song and you'll think it's catchy, but when you know the backstory behind it, it becomes like a 10-minute play and everyone's in on the joke. And I just think that that's it. Everything elevates when we're all in on the joke together. And I think that's what we're always trying to do, is try to bring everybody in more. And those weird little moments that you feel like are unrelatable, somehow they kind of make everybody just, we all exhale at the same time. And we're all one giant team in the audience.
Sometimes I've given concerts where I have spoken a little more than usual, and I'm exhausted at the end because I feel like I'm switching gears on stage from playing to speaking. And I wonder if you ever experienced that. Do you ever sort of it's almost like you're applying several skills at once every night.
I love so much that you would compare what I do on the guitar to what you do on the guitar, and then think that we can relate to each other at all in the same way as far as performing. But yeah, when I'm playing G, C, and D really loudly, my throat gets tuckered out for sure. I don't, because me going into classical guitar was such a change in my alchemy that it never really fit for me. And the reason why is because the band that made me want to be a musician was the band Blink-182. And the band Blink-182, they had this CD whenever I was a kid. It came out in 1999. It's called the Mark, Tom, and Travis Show, and it was a live CD, and it changed my life because the back half of the CD is just them talking at the show. And I grew up thinking, if you're a band, you have to talk. So my reps in talking were way before my reps in guitar.
Gotcha.
So like when y'all were throwing like Ionian scales at me, I was just like, can I riff on this? Can I tell you some jokes? But like, so that part, to me, I get tuckered out from playing songs where I'm just like, can we just chat?
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
I do want to backtrack a little bit, Jeremiah, and, saying when you mention, however you want to say it, representation, agents, et cetera, and how, you just kind of decided to take over and do it for yourself. Could you talk about the nuts and bolts of that a little bit?
I would love to. I mean, y'all said this was going to be like 45 minutes. Y'all better buckle up. This is the rest of the show. So I have, I'm very fortunate in that we never gave up any of the rights to any of our music. And there's been a couple of instances where we've been offered stuff that sounded really good at the time, and it's like a lump sum of money and then they get the royalties of your songs or whatever. And at the time when you don't have anything, it's really easy to make compromises like that. But we got offered one thing one time that made me go, it's kind of like this feeling where you realize like, oh dude, everybody's after my neck. Like everyone in this industry is going after me. We're not on a team. I'm the target. And after that, I was like, well, how much can we push this wagon up the hill by ourselves? And whenever we push it up high enough, someone in the industry is going to see us, and they're going to come in, and then they're going to get their big machine, and they're going to push it up the hill for us. And then I realized that actually there's kind of like the joy is pushing the wagon up the hill. And I don't want some superhero to come and push my wagon for me if that means they get everything that's in my wagon for the rest of my life. And Aaron and I moved to Nashville 2 years ago, and I cannot tell you how many stories I've heard of people that were on the cusp, like the day the sun was breaking through the horizon, and the next thing they knew, the whole jig was up, like dropped from major record labels and all this other stuff. And the thing that I've learned is for us, the pursuit is all I want. And it has made my life so full, and the fruit has been so wonderful from it. Anytime someone's like, hey, I can book your shows for you. That used to be an appealing thought, but now I'm like, why would I let you do that? Because you don't know what we are. You don't know what we're doing. So right now we have spent a lot of time thinking, basically the way we approach shows now is, can this make the number we need to make? Aaron has this, like, is it financially possible? Is it spiritually good for us? Like, is this going to be one of the shows we leave being like, we did it? And then is it logistically possible? So if you want us to play a good show in New York City and it's a one-off, I don't think that's going to be possible unless you pay us a lot of money. And a lot of people in our past, whenever we worked with other people, we had a manager that was like this. They would put pressure on things that we didn't think were valuable, but they kept selling us this bill of goods. Like, if you do this, so-and-so will see. And maybe so-and-so saw, but they didn't super care. And it cost us a lot of soul money to do that. And by the end of it, we felt gross. And we're like, oh, we're in this for the wrong reason. And then one time a manager literally tried to talk us into getting dance lessons, so that way we could perform like that on stage. So it's just, I just don't think anyone knows your artistry the way you do. And until there are amazing stories of people that have great managers. Like, and I know there's so many, like, oh, I'm only here because of so-and-so. I cannot wait to meet that person. They have not revealed themselves to us. And I don't take no for an answer. So I'm going to keep booking our shows, and I'm going to keep hiring our film crews and doing all that stuff because it brings me a lot of joy. Mm-hmm. Also, just side note, I think that there is this may be tangential, and this may not be the conversation for this. Next time we're all having beers, we can talk about it. I think the future of independent music lies in the data, and no one in the business wants to share that with the artist. And I think that is absurd. And if you have control over your data and your website and your analytics, you can find your audience. And that, to me, is the most powerful engine for the independent artist. So for us, we are trying to rethink the system as a whole in a way that's like, oh, we have the control. You can't, like, if a contractor is going to come and say, if you pay us $2,000 a month to market your record, they're not going to tell you any of the data on the people that saw that record. So you can only find those people working with that agency. So for us, it's like, I just want to learn how to advertise our music. So that way, gone are the days where you just play songs. Like, you are the manager now. You are the booking agent. And that sounds like a daunting task. That to me sounds like an invitation, because, like, if you can do all those things, if you're willing to do those things, you are a successful artist.
Wow, you're a poet, my friend. There was Jonathan, I'm going to reference a podcast you previously did, Memphis Machine. I remember you always had great people on there. And I think it was very early on, maybe first season, Hamilton Harden, I think he's in Georgia now, if that's right.
Yeah.
Said something about, it was a mind-opening thing. Like, if you want to do commercial music, what defines it is you take your product to the masses. You don't wait for them to come to you. You connect with them on their turf. And that's kind of a mind-opening, game-changing strategy, and that seems to be something you have tapped into, because I know from our previous conversations we all have these things. If I'd have known 10 years ago what I know now, I would do this differently or do this, and we learn, and the best way is learning from our own mistakes sometimes, and taking that initiative early on. Good for you. Good on you. Because it seems like it has served you and Aaron very well.
I sound heroic. We are still not a big band, so I know that there are people with labels that are much bigger than us, and probably had the right one come along when I needed them to give me a huge lump sum of money. I would have sold my soul for like $25K, probably, if I'm being honest with you. But they never came. But we have found, like, we have a really great label partner for us that have done the last 2 records with us that wouldn't have been made possible if it wasn't for Jeff Zimmer. Like, it's like there are definitely people that come along for the ride, but you just have to be willing to, like, not do it. It's not going to be the movie thing. Like, you know, Bruce Springsteen's famous thing is he walked into the record label and he was just like, here, I'm Bruce Springsteen and here's my song. And then he left with a record deal. I just think those days are gone. Like, I think now the record label is upside down. They stay on TikTok and they wait for an artist to get a gazillion views and then they offer them a record deal. I just, by that point, what do you need a record label for? You have the views. Like, why would you sell anything away? So I'm in it now to where I'm just like, I'm just going to get comfortable in this independent mindset. I like being my own boss. I love that my business partner is my wife. We met and then we literally locked ourselves in a car for 10 hours a day and we just love each other's company. This right now, she's in the other room. This is the longest apart we've been ever, probably. And I prefer it this way, I think.
So what is your typical venue, like say this year in 2025? You know, what did that look like mostly?
That's a great question. So I love small, dingy rooms. That's just, I'm from Laurel, Mississippi. I love a Michelob Ultra and just like a girl that got drunk at noon. That's where I'm really comfortable as a live show. But Thirsty Hippo in Hattiesburg, Mississippi is like, even if it wasn't in Mississippi, it's one of my favorite rooms in the country. It's just like, there's like a room that can fit 100 people and it feels cozy is great. Eddie's Attic in Atlanta is one of my favorite places to play. That place feels like home to me. There's a place in Athens, Georgia called Hendershots. I think that's a perfectly sized room. And Jonathan, you also got to remember, we're just two people. Mm-hmm. And it would be really easy to put two people in a theater and go, this is going to be exactly the same as if they're playing at Callahan's in Mobile, Alabama. It's just not. So for us, we have played theaters. Like we did a theater tour and opening for our friends, and we connected really, really well. But there's this disconnect when you don't have a drummer counting you in, and you can't, like you really got to win them over, especially as the opening band. It felt like we were on a Carnival cruise, and if you didn't get them in the first bit, it was over. So I love a room where I can reach out and touch the front row. I just think there's a romance to it. I think that we're all on a date at that point. And honestly, like I give it up on the first date. Like I want everybody to have a great time. So I love that. We've played the high tone, the front, because you're in Memphis, aren't you?
That's right.
So we played the high tone, the tiny room with the mosquitoes, and then the back one that's more fancy. I prefer the mosquitoes. I just really love when I walk into a room and I'm like, oh, the people that are in here are really going to feel like they get to know us tonight. And I just think that's a really fun time.
Going back to your relationship, duo partner, business partnership, do you guys handle things kind of organically, or have you sort of divided up responsibilities for the band, or how does that work?
That's a great question. I think that my biggest gripe about being a music student is that no one made me take a class on my taxes. And I think that is an unforgivable thing, because boy, oh boy, were we not prepared for that. But Erin does all the taxes and all of the finance parts of stuff, because she's married to me and she knows that if we want to be a successful business, that has to happen. Up until this year, we're doing a house show tour at the beginning of the year, and she is taking the reins on all that because it's much more of a logistical. She wants to make sure everything is executed well. So we kind of pass off back and forth. I do the traditional booking events, and then she does the more intimately coordinated house show stuff. I write the majority of the songs, 90% of the songs, and I've started, I record them. I'm actually in my studio right now. So I'll produce and engineer them. And then she comes in, she'll do her harmonies and her violin parts. And she does session work for violin. And then I'll do session work for I'll record live sessions and stuff. So, and then when it comes to video stuff, I usually, we have very quirky videos where we've had airplanes and stuff. That's usually me coming up with an idea and then Erin helping me figure out the logistics of it. Our marriage and our band function the exact same way. I come in with a giant balloon and I go, oh my God, can you believe how high this is going to fly? And she gets me a brick and she goes, we're just going to tie this to the bottom and we're just going to make sure we don't lose this. And it has served us very well for the past decade.
I may be jumping the gun a little bit here, but you just touched on something that I knew I wanted to talk about in this when you said the music video ideas. And I remember, when MTV, I mean, 80s, you had the multi-million dollar productions of, videos that were like you're on, some James Bond set, and the record industry was dumping money in it. And then, of course, MTV went completely different direction, and it felt like the music video was lost. And I think we had reconnected one time over like maybe OK Go or something like that, and their
Yes.
low budget videos just being so creative and engaging. And it's that same spirit I've seen in the video. I always love it when you do a video premiere, and sometimes I don't see it until 6 months later, but I'm like, that's it. You've hit on something with what you do with your music videos, and I wonder if you might want to talk about that in terms of, whatever you want to say about it, your process or the value you see in it or anything like that, and maybe how it has helped you as an artist being, maybe more visible in this social media age.
I think so. Music videos kind of started our career in a lot of ways. So I remember the first music video that I ever remember watching, and it was Blink-182's "What's My Age Again." And if you're unfamiliar, that's the one where they're running naked down the streets of Los Angeles. And I remember like grabbing my dad's elbow and be like, "Dad, that's what I want to do." And he was like, "No," but I meant make funny music videos. But the reason I've been dogging the music industry, and I feel like this is a good chance to clean that up, because we have met very influential people in our career that we will carry with us through the rest of our career. And one of them is a guy named Grayson Welch in Birmingham, Alabama. I sent him a cold email. We had $1,500 to make a music video, and I didn't even know him. I saw one video he did. We didn't know how to make a music video. And I just sent him an email, and I was like, "Hey, do you want to make a music video?" And he goes, "Yeah." And he sent me what's called a treatment, which is basically like what he would do if I paid him the money to make the music video. And I hated the idea. And I was basically calling his bluff. And I said, he wanted me to be like hot and running through the woods. And like, there's a girl, but she's a ghost, but maybe she's not a ghost, or something. I can't remember. But I'm not a hot guy. So I knew the idea wasn't going to work. I mean, I look like Voldemort in a bad disguise. So I got to stay in my lane. So what I pitched to him is, what if I crashed a kid's birthday party in a clown costume, expecting him to not respond to my email anymore? I was literally playing a joke on him. And he goes, "Can you do it Thursday?" I called my friend who has an appropriately aged kid, and I said, "Hey, can we crash your son's birthday party?" And when we did that, I could feel it being important in the room. I could feel it being like, "Oh, this is it. Like, this is something no one else is doing. This is something I'm weirdly equipped to do. This is just going to be a part of who we are." And then the next one was a video we did called Tremble. I used to perform in a green blazer. It looks like I was in the Masters. And I made a post on social media that my jacket got stolen out of my car. And I had 3 different people offer to buy me that same jacket off the internet. But it was very sweet. But then we ended up releasing a video where I'm going to a talent show, and a magician comes out wearing my jacket, and I fight him to get my jacket back. And the reason I tell you that is to tell you that one video booked us tours for the next 2 years, because everyone that saw that music video was like, "Who the heck are these dudes? Like, I want them to come play in my room." Mm-hmm. And that video helped me see that, like, if you're willing to look a little silly, if you do it in the right way, people want to get on that train. So we've really enjoyed having that. It's something that I am very passionate about. It's a bummer because music videos don't perform well right now. So we're trying to adapt to the new format. I don't know why everybody keeps turning their phone where it's long ways. I don't like it, but we're trying to like we're trying to find our place in that right now. I know it's just a matter of time before we like really lean in. And unfortunately now there's like a lot of merit to doing non-music things. Like I just went viral for making spaghetti, or I didn't make spaghetti. My wife made spaghetti. And I literally just made jokes about her putting carrots in the spaghetti, and it got like 2.5 million views. And like a bunch of people in India are telling me that I'm ungrateful, but it's just, I don't know. I just like, the world is so fun and interesting if you let it be. And if you can find a way to like benefit in your career, I just think that there's a lot of opportunity there. And that's all I'm trying to do. I appreciate the question, just because I honestly, I think I wanted to be an actor. That's a big part of it. But I've been bald since I was 17. I knew it was doomed. There's only one Stanley Tucci. You don't get two. So I knew very early on, this was my only hope.
Okay. I disagree. You hinted on the thing like I'm not some sexy greased up guy running through the woods or whatever. I'm sorry, gentlemen. As an aging man, Jeremiah has the best hair in the room, because that's where I'd like to get to, is that comfort level. And when I did that during COVID, my wife was like, "Yeah, you're not ever doing that again. Like even if you naturally go bald, which I pretty much have." She's like, yeah, we're going to do something about that, wig something. So, it's wonderful. But you also hit at something, and I think we've all heard this over the past couple of years, this idea of the TikTok attention span, the best TikToks, 17 seconds or something like that, hit them and get out. And what you also don't realize, and it's something that a lot of, I hate to say the word influencers, but a lot of people that clearly that I've watched on Instagram and things like that point out the fact that we see these great phenoms shredding and doing things just to melt your face. And it's, probably something that they've recorded. It may have been edited. They're miming over, and it's, that take. And some of them don't. Some of them may be live, and good for them. But, there's an honesty in live performance, and for years we've been getting away from that with the mastery of CDs and this idea of perfection and what we want to see at a live show, and it matching the CD that we're used to hearing. And there's so many artists that buck that trend. And I guess what I'm getting at in that is maintaining that honesty in what you're doing and that creativity. And that's something that I tend to see in your videos when you've put them out. There's been something, and I have the advantage of saying that because I've known you for so long now, that I still see you in that.
Yeah, and I think that one of the benefits of having, no one on this earth knows me like Erin does. And if I show her a video and she goes, "That's not you," I don't post it, like, because she knows. Because Erin, I had a therapist over COVID point out that my biggest strength, I think it's called Strengths Finder. I never took the test, but she said, "I don't have to take the test for you. I know your strongest strength is belief. Like you believe in what you're doing, and that fuels everything you do." And then she told Erin, "Yours is authenticity." Erin is the authentic lifeblood of our band. I am willing to give up the truth in order to give you a good story and a good time. Erin is not that way. Erin is like, she'll correct me on stories because she's like, if you're going to tell the story, tell the truth. And I think the truth just gets in the way. So, but speaking to the TikTok thing, something I used to be Scrooge about TikTok. And I used to think it's not real, it's inauthentic, it's about all those things. But the issue is that all of the best new artist nominations in the Grammys were all TikTok viral first. All 100 of the Billboard Top 100 songs were TikTok songs. Whether or not it is good or it is bad, it is important. And there is something to be said about the culture that is TikTok and the culture that is the discovery algorithm. And by the time you're done complaining about it, and this isn't towards anyone, this is, I'm looking in the mirror. There's a mirror right off camera. By the time you're done griping about it, your friend that wasn't too proud to be on it just went viral and just got a record deal. So like, to me, it's like, this is the game. I wish that we lived in a world where the person that wrote the most authentic song and did the most amount of, like prayed and then complimented their mom and was nice to a homeless person. I wish they got the deal. It's just not how it happens. And for me, it's like I have sold, I'm so sold out for this. I'm willing to do whatever it is to get to do this. It feels like such a gift and it feels like winning the lottery, just getting to be 35, almost 36 years old. And this is still how I play. So I'm willing to move and grapple with the industry wherever it takes me. And I'm willing to try whatever, because that's everything that we've done that has been successful is just because I felt like, oh, this could help us keep the ball in the air. Because to me, it's a marathon and I'm really enjoying just trying to keep the ball in the air.
That shows a great level of adaptability. And I think, I certainly salute you for that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I used to get a broom and I would clean up after our shows. I'm whatever the gig is, I'm here for the gig. Like it's just an honor to get to do it. And I like the hard parts. I like hanging up flyers. I like making sure, like I literally, so like this is a new thing that I'm doing. I learned to sew because I'm gonna start making our merch. And so I just think that there is I think the future of artistry is independent, and AI is about to be a hot mess. So for me, it's how do you survive?
Yeah.
And I think the answer is to bring your overhead down and make your art more human. And what's better than band merch made by the band? Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Wow.
So I whatever the gig is, I'm here for it.
That's fantastic. I have a bit more of a mundane question, but just because we have all kinds of listeners, we try to be as inclusive as possible and touch upon as many topics as we do, as we can. Can you give us a little bit of a rig rundown? Just kind of tell us what gear you're using, from guitars to pedals to amps, that kind of thing.
Yes. So my touring guitar, I have a Martin 0015. That is the first guitar I ever bought, and it is the guitar that I will die with. It's perfect. The size of it is perfect. I feel like I'm in total control of it. And I have a Boss RC600 because I do a lot of loops at our live show. And the pickup that I have in it, I can't remember. It's an LR Baggs Anthem is what it is. And it lets me beat on the guitar from anywhere. And the whole guitar becomes like a percussive instrument. And the Boss RC600 has multiple outs. So I can program each loop. So it's a 6-channel looper. I can program each one of the loops to go to a different part of the soundboard. So sound guys can go, okay, channel 1 is the beat, that goes to the subs. Channel 2 is the bass, that can go to the subs. And then it can break up apart. That was really helpful for the bigger rooms that we played, because if you closed your eyes, you're like, that's a band on stage. Cool. So that's really helpful.
Yeah.
Probably the most exciting. Oh, and I just got a Kalamazoo arch top. It's really nice to have a guitar from the 40s that sounds better than anything I've ever owned. And probably the coolest pedal that I've gotten in a very long time is the Chroma console. It is like 100 million pedals in one, and every sound on that thing is just gorgeous. I got it mostly for producing, but it is now replaced like 6 pedals that I used to have on my board. So right now it's just the Boss RC600 and the Chroma console. That's all I have.
Cool.
I've often wanted to pick your brain about that at the show, and we never have time. And you've probably seen me, when we're chatting or something like that, and I'm, gazing over like, what is he playing this time? And thanks. Nick. That's a question I've been wanting to ask for a few years now.
So I was playing a show, Birmingham, Alabama. This is a perfect podcast to tell the story because no one else cares about this story. I was playing in Birmingham, Alabama, and it was one of those rooms that have 3 stages. And we had sound checked and we were doing our thing. It was sounding good. I was feeling really good. I put my guitar down. I went to get a drink at the bar, and I heard someone going, "Who the heck is playing a Boss RC600?" And I turned and looked, and it was Victor Wooten.
Wow. That's cool.
And he came up to me, and I was so starstruck. I was like, there's no way you're asking me about my looper right now. And he goes, "No, dude, I have that loop pedal." And me and Victor Wooten are just broing out over a loop station. Wow. And it was, I'm like, I'm never getting rid of this. He probably sweat on it. It's valuable to me.
That's awesome.
Well, and it's funny you say that about the loop station, and we've all used them now. I remember when I got one, it wasn't until I think COVID when I started doing some things through social media just to keep some sort of performance presence going. And there was a real learning curve to how to, punch in and tap and do all this stuff. And, it puts extra pressure on you in a live situation, to make sure you get that right and go. And I've always been impressed. People want to talk about Ed Sheeran and folks like that who really kind of started putting a lot of that on the scene. They have nothing on you, my friend. You're up there dancing with it, and it's an organic thing to hear what you do with it. So there's a different level of kind of that mastery of working with a loop and being able to do it, particularly in a live situation, I think.
I think so too. I appreciate that compliment. Confident isn't a word that I would use to describe myself, except when it comes to loop stations, because I have earned my stripes when it comes to a loop pedal. You have not died until you have opened a show with a bad loop. Oh. Like it is a death unlike anything. But for me, looping specifically, my goal is that you don't really notice I'm doing it. I've been to shows where you're like, okay, cool. It's been 3 minutes and this dude hasn't started singing yet. Like, I never want that. To me, if you're looping, it's get me to the song, and get me to the song in a way where I'm not watching you loop and thinking about you looping. Like, there's some amazing loopers. Burnoff is this guy. I think he's Swedish maybe, but there's a bunch of these great loopers. Ed Sheeran is an amazing looper. But to me, it's like looping isn't the show. To me, looping supports the show. I want to get the looping out of the way so I can tell you my story, so I can sing you my songs. But I also don't want to have to hire a band because I can't afford it. So the looper is the band that I don't have to pay, at the end of the night. So
it's working well for you.
Thank you.
You mentioned something about an upcoming tour. Would you mind giving us a little bit more detail about that?
I would love to tell you about that. So we are doing a house show tour. House shows are our favorite. So Jonathan was asking me about what our favorite venues are. House shows are our favorite because there's no overhead for us. And when you're running a business, you have to make choices like that. And I really love, I saw there's a band called Pedro and the Lion, and the lead singer of that band is a guy named David Bazan. I saw David Bazan in a living room, and it's to this day in my top 3 favorite shows of all time. I just saw Paul Simon at the Ryman, so he got bumped down. But it is something so intimate and amazing where it's like, oh dude, I'm actually a part of the show being in this house right now. Like there's like a comfort to it that, like, when you take all the lights and the frills out of it and you and the people in the room are all in on this thing together, it's so special. So we're doing 1 weekend of the month for the first 6 months of the year to help us. Like, we're working out, the reason why we do it is because we're working out new songs. So you don't mind hearing a bunch of new songs when you're in this very intimate setting, because I get to tell you, like, hey, here's what this song is, here's why I wrote it, and you're about to hear me play it for the first time. Mm-hmm. And we'll obviously play the songs that people know us for, but it's really helpful to us to know, like, it's kind of like a stand-up where you don't really know the songs that have legs until the audience tells you. And some of our biggest songs, like our biggest song on Spotify, I tried to not release because I couldn't hear it. But the audience told me, and Aaron was like, listen to them. They're telling you to release it. And Spotify, that's the first song we had over 1 million streams on Spotify. And the house show is just a way for us to get to know these new songs and to get to know our fans, because, like, it's a really cool thing to, like, after the show, it's like, no, we're just going to go to the kitchen if you guys want to hang out, because that's where the merch table is. So we're doing that. And then we're releasing a bunch of music that we recorded in the room that I'm currently talking to you in. So it's been a very cool prep year this year, but we're really excited to get back on the road next year.
Fantastic. Well, once again, thank you so much. Just for our listeners, as a reminder, we have Jeremiah Stricklin with us, and the band is called Oh Jeremiah. You can check them out on ohjeremiah.com, Spotify, many other platforms. Highly recommend listening to their music, watching the videos as well. You can follow Jeremiah on social media, and there's a lot of entertainment, some beautiful content there, and humor and storytelling. And so once again, thanks so much for joining us on Pluck That.
Yeah, thank y'all for teaching me.
It was our pleasure and honor.
Well, that was a wonderful talk with Jeremiah, and to hear what he and Aaron are doing. Yeah, Nick, I'm gonna kind of like a comedian does. You know, they start with a joke and somehow end the show going back to that same joke. I didn't do this intentionally, but you kind of hinted at it when you started this episode that it's special. And like I said, everything we've done is special. It's, you know, there's been plenty of artists that I haven't known we've got to talk to. There's been folks that I've had a relationship with that we've brought on, and this one is special in a different way. I mentioned this to my family over the holidays that we keep hearing, just I guess the day and age we're in, you know, the doom and gloom about the next generation and what's going on, and so much about, you know, this current generation, you know, not being able to get into the housing market at the same age we were, or having the same opportunities. AI. I mentioned something to my family regarding my daughter and how well she's doing in her first year at school and how proud I am of that. It's kind of like this with seeing your students. You know, we want our next generation to do better than what we have done. And I think this is one of the things we've touched on, Nick, you and I, especially in regards to how the programs in which we're teaching have changed and how we're trying to reach students in not only different ways, but ways that we can impart knowledge, you know, we maybe were not given to them to help them be more successful musicians. So when you see your students do well, you know, despite what you've done or because what you've done, it's always encouraging. And that's kind of what I've garnered from this talk with Jeremiah, that this he's going to do well. And I think my first moment with that was a number of years ago. It might have been his first album. He was working on scoring it for string quartet and doing a little performance here in Hattiesburg, and I think touring a little bit with it. I think the performance here in Hattiesburg was his first one, and we were communicating a little bit back and forth, and I kept thinking, well, you know, if he needs some help or has some questions, you know, I'm here. I want to make sure I'm available to him. And by golly, he did it. He dug in, did what he needed to do to make it work. And at that point, I was like, man, good for him. It made me feel good that that next generation was able to succeed and persevere. And I hope that is the case as we move forward. But in particular, good for Jeremiah. And I hope they continue to do well, because that's great to hear such engaging and encouraging conversation coming from you know, these artists.
Totally agree. Very well put, Boyd. And you know, he's got such ambition and energy combined with a firm belief in himself and the projects that he's putting out. And to me, that's just very inspiring for, you know, any of my future projects. You know, it's just like I could definitely use a dose of some of that stuff that's coursing through his veins. And so
Amen.
It was really great to talk with him. So yeah, super special, great honor. And so with that, we come to the close of this episode of Pluck That. Want to remind our listeners to feel free to drop a comment in our YouTube, any of our videos, any questions you wanted to ask our future guests, or any kind of follow-up questions. We're always there, ready to respond. And then you can also send an email to us at pluckthatguitarpodcast@gmail.com, and be on the lookout for the next episode. That'll do it for Pluck That.